At this point, we all know that the new Soundpeats Engine4 sounds so good, but how good exactly? Well, today we're going to compare this to every top recommendations that I have here. We have a lot of earbuds to compare today, and we'll see together why the Engine4 is really something special. Let's go. Selamat pagi. Good morning everyone, Kenneth here, and welcome to my Soundpeats Engine4 review, a successor to the True Engine 3 SE, which was one of my most loved earbuds back in the day. And you know what? It improves in all the right ways. It's much smaller, it's got LDAC and multi-point. Sure, you still won't find ANC or transparency, but for 60 bucks, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better sound than this. As always, you'll be getting my own honest opinion here, and you can find my full disclosure down in the description below, but I hate to make you wait, so hit the thumbs up now and let's talk about that sound quality. So to proceed, we have to talk about the EQ first, since by default, the Engine4 comes at the warmer side of the spectrum, which isn't really my cup of tea. So I will do the comparison with this balance tuning that I've created, basically just pushing the upper mid to boost vocal presence, and please feel free to try this out, tune it from there, because one of the biggest selling points of the Engine4 is its versatility that you can tune it, and we'll see it in action as the comparison goes on. So moving on to the actual comparison now, let's talk about the older Soundpeats to give you an idea of where it stands. And to start, the Engine4 handily beats Soundpeats H1 or 3SE here by sounding both wider in soundstage, more effortless across the frequency, like it just sounds more natural, especially the treble compared to the H1. There's no hint of sibilance or peakiness, and sure, you can EQ the H1 here, but the chip only allows 6-band EQ, whereas the Engine4 now supports 10-band EQ, so you can fine-tune the sound more precisely. But moving on to the Soundpeats H2, this is actually a huge improvement to the H1, but why you probably didn't hear of that is because sound quality is what it gets going, and that's it, which sadly cannot justify the $80 price tag. But I'm happy to say that the Engine4 has sound quality just as good, EQ capabilities that was weirdly missing on the H2 and more. But going back to the sound quality, firstly, the Engine4 is much louder at 2 to 3 clicks more. So you're going to be listening around 50% daily here, actually bringing it on par with the other Soundpeats. And for my balanced EQ here, you can bump up the sub bass a bit to match the H2, but I feel like there's a unique character of a balanced armature being used here, where it gives you more treble detail and sparkle. But as far as overall timbre is concerned, or just how everything blends together, is better on the Engine4. But this depends on the song. Some simpler ones may make the two sound very similar, whereas more complicated rock, for example, you'll notice it slightly more. But it's really a matter of preference here, and I value the versatility of EQing the sound you want more. So the Engine4 wins this one. Alright, if you find this video helpful, I found that only less than 20% of you subscribe, so please help me out, be a part of my 100k subs family. We're trying to reach out by the end of the year. Let me know down below if you've subscribed. I would like to thank you personally, and let's bring in more earbuds to compare. So on similar price point now, here we have the 50 bucks Capsule3 Pro. This is a good value earbuds, but like most budget ANC buds, they don't have the best sound quality because of course, you're allocating those money on the extra features, whereas on the Engine4, you're putting everything on the sound quality. So in Last Goodbye by OPPO, we have the Capsule3 Pro, which has mainly bass focus tuning, which is alright, you know, I really don't have a complaint with how this sounds, but the Engine4 smokes it with the details in the upper mid especially. I'm talking about how the vocals are presented much more at the front of the soundstage, how clear the cymbal crashes goes, how naturally all the other instruments come into play, especially the acoustic guitars that has full and warm quality to it. I honestly can't believe myself how the difference could be this night and day. And if you try to EQ the Capsule3 Pro, it has a hint of peakiness at around 7 kHz. So try not to push that lever, and despite my efforts, I just can't make it sound anywhere close to the Engine4, especially the soundstage. But again, it's a trade-off to get ANC and transparency, and if that's something you need, then this has one of the most natural sounding transparency at this price point. But now, I know you'll ask, what about the Opera series? And to give you a quick answer, Engine4 is basically these Operas but without ANC. So it's cheaper and it's smaller too. So the Engine 4 with my EQ sounds very similar to the OPPO 03, but again, I feel the balance armature on the OPPO provides brighter treble detail, although in exchange, it cannot provide much fullness to the mids, which the Engine 4 puts out effortlessly. Sadly for the OPPO 05 here, my kid ate one earbud and it died, but he didn't swallow it, so it's all good. What I can tell you is the OPPO 05 takes that upper mid to treble detail to the next level because of its two balanced armatures. It sounds very bright and detailed, but whether it's an advantage or not comes back to you, as I feel like it's a personal preference at this point, and I could see people being perfectly happy with the Engine 4 right here. So how about other brands? Firstly, here we have the $70 Edifier W240TN, a very interesting comparison because the price is now similar. We have the same two coaxial dynamic driver setup, but Edifier has ANC and transparency and physical button. Please don't argue with me, it is a selling point. And Soundpeats has multi-point and LDAC. So which one? Comparing Feels So Fine by Taeyeon, Engine 4 has excellent bass that plays the bass guitar in full force while also effortlessly portrays Taeyeon's voice without anything holding it back. I love the fact that boosting the upper mid until they're almost maxed out here never resulted in a harsh or piercing sound. Actually, this is my second EQ for you who like treble detail. On the other hand, the Edifier feels more limited in the sound staging, as if everything is playing still inside your head, where the Soundpeats gives vocal more breathing space, instruments are moved far around the ear side, and I also feel like the vocals have more body in the Engine 4. And as far as EQing the Edifier, it's practically a 4-band EQ, so it's quite limited and hard to visualize, and you just can't expand that soundstage to the level of Soundpeats. So again, it's a fair trade-off considering the ANC and transparency. The Edifier is still one of the best $70 ANC buds you can get, but if sound quality is at the top of your list, then the Engine 4 is the way to go. Okay, next up, here we have the $100 Soundcore Liberty 4 NC. And why this particular earbud is because it's the best overall Soundcore earbuds to date. The top feature here is none other than the new adaptive ANC, which is unbeatable for the price. But then in my review, I found it to bring nice improvements to the sound as well, which is definitely better than Space A40, and I could argue slightly better than the previous Liberty series. So with volume one click louder than the Engine 4, how do they sound? Comparing J-rock songs from Yorushika like the slap bass heavy Katorea, the Engine 4 has more reach into the sub bass, which sounds both more natural and effortless in pumping bass compared to the Liberty 4 NC that feels like reaching just the mid bass region. And you really cannot fix that because the Soundcore app only allows you to EQ down to 100 Hz, which is still mid-bass region. Compare that to the Soundpeats, which has 30 and 60 Hz adjustments, which is true sub-bass, and soundstage is noticeably wider on the Engine 4 as well. Although in terms of vocal clarity, I think both is around the same ballpark with my EQ, just the Soundcore highlights the vocals more, whereas the Engine 4 highlights the bass fullness that surrounds the vocal. I would still give the edge to Engine 4 here, especially if you want a powerful and rumbly bass, but both are still equally amazing purchase. Alright, to the top of this comparison, we have the OPPO Enco X2, which I bought for $130. So we're at more than twice the price, but you know what? I recommended the OPPO for its powerful and dynamic sound quality that pumps out strong bass and treble without compromising the vocals or instruments, thanks to the unique combo of dynamic plus planar drivers inside. The problem with this is the fact that you cannot EQ it, as there are only 4 EQ presets inside the app. Sure, it would please most people just fine, but for an earbud that sells from its sound quality, the ability to customize EQ is more important than ever, which is exactly what we get with the Engine 4. And honestly, I'm surprised to find that with enough tweaking, we can get, for the first time ever, an OPPO level of power and dynamic with an EQ that looks like this. Do keep in mind, however, that this EQ does not make your Engine 4 sound exactly similar to the OPPO, because by the nature of the drivers, the planar here is going to reveal more little details, like in Love Story by Taylor Swift. You can hear the sparkles from the hi-hat hits, or every hit of the snare drum is more clearly separated. But to be honest, I like the EQ on the Engine 4 better because it delivers fuller vocals models than the OPPO. And really, I've compared these two in a lot of genres, be it pop, rock, EDM, and much more. And I can say the Engine 4 truly is a win for getting so close to what the OPPO can achieve while being much easier to buy since the OPPO is only available in China. And I can't stress this enough, but the Engine 4 wins for its versatility with its EQ customization. Speaking of EQ, actually I have a very important suggestion to Soundpeats. I really hope they prioritize in polishing their app, because nowadays it's not hard to find an earbuds with an app support. I mean, even dirt cheap Baseus earbuds I reviewed has better app interface, but my biggest problem is how the EQ adjustments take effect. You need to wait a couple seconds before you can hear what you adjusted, which could be frustrating, and that's why I never talked about it much in the past. But that's because those past Soundpeats earbuds don't really need EQing as much as the Engine 4 do. And please add EQ presets so we can save a couple settings that can be accessed easily. Like in this video, I suggested 3 settings already, right? Edifier did it, Soundcore did it. It's your turn now. Talking about build quality real quick, I think it's good to see dual dynamic drivers not taking as much bulk as it's used to. It looks like a normal earbuds now, around the size of this Edifier W240TN, but holy crap, it's got 12 hours of battery with SBC AAC and around 2.5 more charges in this case. It's going to decrease significantly with LDAC. I'm projecting less than 10 hours. And by the way, you cannot use LDAC with multipoint here, but gone are the days of having trade-offs like under 3 hours of playtime with normal design like this Edifier earbuds Pro, or going crazy big like the Sony XM4s to get a usable playtime with LDAC. I would say even 10 hours, it's amazing, it's overkill. Also, for the color choice, I think the company took note from the Opera here, where people like their earbuds to not stand out too much. So they use this dark brownish tone that looks very unique, but it's glossy, right? So it's bound to scratch. But after a month of throwing this here and there, I have seen only some slight micro scratches, which is cool. What I love more is the earbuds though, which puts less emphasis on the branding, but more on the gold colored drivers underneath this classic transparent housing. Complement that with a nicely designed metal mesh inside, and you've got a design that can compete with the more premium brands out there. I guess until you open the lid enough and it starts squeaking. But at least it stays open, so that's good. I'm not gonna talk about controls again because it's perfect as usual from Soundpeats, and connectivity is solid too. Pairing 2 devices is easy with this button on the case, and I've experienced no connection issues so far with gaming mode, here to stay at triple tap on the left earbud. My only suggestion is if the built-in ear tips doesn't fit you really well, you can get a SpinFit CP360 here like I do. It's gonna make the earbuds stay like a champ. So we're almost done here. Just wanted to remind you to buy through the links in the description to help me keep bringing you the good stuff on the channel, and let's check out the mic test right now. All right, welcome everyone to the microphone test. Right now we are with the Soundpeats Engine 4 in an indoor setting where there's not much noise. It's my recording situation here with just this AC turned on. So this is what you would get when you're doing online meeting and calls like that. But let's go outside now and we'll see how it performs. Just as a quick refresher, this is what it sounds like outside. It's very loud actually. And there's quite a lot of cars and motorcycles today. So we're gonna see how the Engine 4 performs, and let's see. Okay, I'm gonna face this way now because if I face that way, the wind is blowing and you probably will not be able to hear me. So what do you think of the sound quality now? Soundpeats lately has been doing pretty well in this mic quality department compared to the olden Soundpeats 3 SE H1 days. So let me know what you think of the sound quality, and that's going to be pretty much it for the video. Thank you so much for watching as always, people. If you want to check more videos, this is my top 100 ANC earbud recommendation, and I'll let YouTube do its thing with the second video. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Kenneth. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.